Great, thank you. And you mentioned food with regard to frequency, like eating food with frequency, like that has frequency. Can you delve into that?
Yeah. So most of you, and I understand this, we have to meet you where you are today, are struggling to give up animal-based foods, eggs, fish, chicken, turkey, red meat, pork, wild game, cheese, butter, yogurt, all of this nonsense. And I get that. So moving to even a cooked plant-based diet that's not organic is one good step in the right direction. The next baby step is to have organic food, even if you're going to cook it. But the real fact is that we share the planet with millions and millions of other species. In nature, 100% of those species eat a 100% raw diet. The only species in nature that, by the way, eats a cooked diet is the human species. Now, I know there's a lot of philosophers and half-wit intellectuals and a lot of other people out there giving you half-baked stories that are quasi-science, as I call them, saying that when you cook a food, you get more out of it. But that's not science. That's philosophy at best, and not good philosophy. So my good friend, who was one of the most renowned professors at University of California, Los Angeles, way back starting in the 60s and 70s, and I got to know her in the 80s and worked closely with her, was doing biofrequency testing on foods. And once you heat it above 115 degrees, even an organic plant-based food, you kill everything in it pretty much. And the energetic field that's in it that attracts the human cell and the cell's attracted to it, the frequency is gone. So what you're pretty much getting, if anything, out of the denatured cooked food is carbohydrates. So you're living once again on sugar, not the same amount of sugar that you would from processed sugar or fruit sugar or something like that, but more so sugar. You're not really living on nutrition at that point. Now, the good news is on a plant-based diet that's processed, at least you're not giving yourself the most disease-causing and age-creating problems that animal foods have in it. I don't care if it's milk, I don't care if it's chicken, I don't care if it's fish. They all have 3 known acids in them, in the flesh foods and the excretions from animals. And those flesh foods erode your body. They actually pit your bone structure. They actually weaken the integrity of your organs. That means weaker organ systems in the body, thinner skin and tissue in the organ system. I actually propose it gets through the blood-brain barrier and actually helps to decompose the structural composition of the brain itself. And this is why we have more violence and murder, et cetera, in countries where they eat the largest amount of animal-based foods. So these are no longer Tea Party conversations that you should have. This is hardcore future science. Now, just because most scientists haven't caught up with this doesn't mean it doesn't exist. But what I've learned in my 54 years of work is that it usually, when they find a profoundly good thing, if you're really, really lucky, it takes 25 years to get into application. So it's not good enough just to eat plant-based diets and organic diets. You got to raise your energy field, your consciousness, et cetera. Fuel your spirit with life, the frequency of food, not just eating food.
And now this frequency, is this something that's actually measurable in food?
Oh, yes, very measurable, very measurable. So the human cell works at about 75 hertz. And when you take fresh, now this is another issue we have to make, fresh plant-based food, not something that was picked 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, it has a very similar frequency. And when we look at the work of Dr. Hunt back in 1981 and 1982, where she did photographic exposés on this. And one of the most interesting ones, you could probably look this up on Dr. Hunt's webpage, although she's no longer with us, it's there, I'm sure, where she took the top runner at the university at that time and put him on a typical Western junk diet, hamburger, soda, and a candy bar. and photographed the energy field going away. Every time his little Adam's apple went up and down, you actually saw the energy field reduce till the last swallow, he had nothing. Total opposite. I thought it was a day later, but she said, no, we didn't have the budget for that. We gave him a gallon of water, flushed him out, and then minutes later, we put him on plant foods, raw plant foods, and you saw the exact opposite happen. Now, we see this here at the Institute. People come back to life every single day here. And they come in like an old fuse that's burned out, and we take the fuse and we renew it. We reshape it. We re-energize it. And by the time they leave, they're vital people. They're not in a death and dying mindset. Their biology is functioning. And this is something I really challenge my colleagues in this field to raise their consciousness and come to. I think the work that all of us doing is important, but we've got to go further. I'm never confident that what we say today is what matters tomorrow. We've got to constantly go. We should be confident in what we say today and know that it's true. I speak from this depth of working with 300,000 people in a clinical setting. I know others are intellectual. They read other people's studies and regurgitate it. That's not my interest. I read studies on an ongoing basis. The minimum is 10 hours a week, but they sort of incite my interest in doing things here. I don't want to read what other people do and say I want to mimic what they do. I may want to look at what they do and apply it if I think it makes good sense, and then see how it works with people over a long period of time. And what we do know is that if you're eating food that's dead, it doesn't give you life. Life begets life, death begets death. End of story. Basic physics we're talking about.
Great, thank you for that. With regard to cooked food, beans, what are your thoughts on eating beans? And
Sprout
if not
them.
cooked,
You sprout them. You sprout them. You sprout anything, it comes back to life, and they become, the minimum, it becomes 17 times more digestible. And let me repeat it so you get it. Now, you say beans to me, I say gas, bloating, and indigestion. Most people think that with beans. Sprout them. The least is 17 times, the most is 50. Like a pinto bean is 47 times. A fava bean is 52 times more digestible. Times, we're not talking about percentage, more digestible. And then, of course, you unlock the nutrients. Now, think about the way I'm talking about this. That little seed potentially will make hundreds, if not thousands, of seeds. So the power to do that is locked into the seed. What we do know from the work we did in Boston at MIT is that it takes 3 to 5 days, depending upon the size of the seed, to get anything externally. So all of the life comes in 3 to 5 days, at least 3 days, 4 days, 5 days from the seed itself to create hundreds or thousands of seeds. So now what we know is it multiplies the nutrients by an average of 8 times. And what does that mean? 8 times more vitamin A, 8 times more vitamin B, 8 times more vitamin C. Not because we say so, this is science we're talking about. And so that's the second. What it does to the economy is mind-boggling, because the average seed, you get 10 times more food out of. So if I buy 1 pound of organic seed, I get 10 pounds of food that's far more digestible and at least 8 times more nutrients in it. So, of course, we are used to, we're habitual. We have what I call the mommy factor. You know, mommy told me to eat cooked food. I still have the mommy factor. My mommy loved me. She took care of me. She, gave me the hot soup. She gave me this. But the biological science behind this, the quantum biology we're talking about, is not the mommy factor. We're talking about the energetic field of the food and the nutrient load within the food and unlocking it, making it more digestible. And all this nonsense you hear about enzyme inhibitors and how they're not good for you and you can't digest, goes away. Completely goes away when you sprout it, because those enzyme inhibitors are real. They're there to protect that seed from the bugs and the animals eating the last one. Isn't that amazing? How the perfection of nature and the universe was, it actually had something on it so that that seed would always exist. The more you look at nature, the more you believe in God.